What's up, guys? I'm starting a new series on my YouTube channel called Far From Home, where I interview some of my teammates who are from different parts of the world who've come to Taiwan to play professional basketball. And I talk about their journeys, with their struggles, and what they've been through to get here. My very first guest for this series is my good friend and teammate, Gabby.
Hey guys, Gabby here. Like Ethan said, this is the first video of hopefully many, so I'm glad to be the first guest.
Yeah, so hopefully this series, I can interview more of my teammates, and it can just be, something where you guys can learn more about, players who play professionally who aren't from Taiwan originally. For the people that are watching that, don't know you, introduce yourself and, where are you from and how long have you been in Taiwan for?
For those who don't know me, my name is Humphrey Gabriel. Everybody knows me by Gabby. Gabby was a name they gave me when I came to Taiwan, and that stuck, so I really like it. But yeah, I'm from Nigeria, born in Nigeria, grew up pretty much everywhere you could say. I grew up a little bit in Nigeria, moved to Cambodia when I was about 9 years old, did some of my high schooling in the US, and then college in Taiwan. So
I know we're here to talk about basketball, so how did basketball originally come into your life?
I think the first time I ever held a basketball or went to a basketball court, I was probably around 12 or 13 years old.
Really?
I remember before that I was a soccer player. I played all kinds of sports, but my favorite sport was soccer growing up. So.
Was soccer ever something that you thought you would go professional in, or was that always basketball?
It was actually. I was very serious about it. My dream was always to play professionally, so it was always very funny that I ended up playing basketball instead.
Right. Yeah. What was kind of the tipping point where you had to decide whether to play soccer or basketball?
I would say it was probably my last year of high school in the US. I kind of knew that, okay, if I wanted to play something like professionally, I had to be more serious and really focus on that one sport. Yeah. Throughout my high school and middle school and elementary school, I played every sport I could possibly play. So I played basketball, I played volleyball, I played soccer, I played table tennis, whatever you play, I just played. So I think my senior year of high school, I decided that I wanted to really take basketball more seriously. And ironically enough, I was actually better at soccer, so all my classmates and schoolmates knew me as a guy who was good at soccer. But I really loved the challenge of basketball. It was something that was very new in my life, and it just drew me closer to it. So I wanted to try and play. Yeah.
I mean, the question that we're all trying to answer is, how the heck did someone from Nigeria get to Taiwan?
Yeah, sometimes I wonder the same thing too. The first thing I could say is probably my parents having the vision to kind of travel abroad was probably the start of it all, because growing up in Nigeria, I think my dad had the dream of going abroad for work and stuff, and he was the first one to really leave home. So he first lived in China, actually. First place he ever went to was China. Right. So anyways, after being abroad for a while, he ended up in Cambodia, and after staying there for a few years, he decided to bring my mom and me and my sister to Cambodia to stay with him. So ended up in Taiwan was something I never really envisioned, really, because I only really learned about the country of Taiwan when I was about to come here. Before, I didn't really know about Taiwan. I knew China, I knew Hong Kong, I knew Macau.
Like, what's your basketball experience that kind of got you to the professional level in Taiwan? Like, where did you play? Like in high school or like middle school? Like, where did that lead up to?
Okay, so like I said, I didn't really play basketball early on from playing in my church, just shooting around. I started playing a little bit in my high school, my school. I remember they built a basketball court, and then we just would play for fun during our lunch breaks or whatever it is. Cambodia, they kind of developed an amateur league for pretty much like just anyone to play, mostly grown-ups between the ages of like 20 to like 40, whatever. My dad knew some people in that too. He played, and at that time I was, I think, 15 years old. The team my dad played for was called Extra Joss, and then he invited me to play with him too. Like, kind of, that time I didn't really play much, but I was just on the team. So that was the first team I ever played on. And then this was right before I moved to the US. So this was kind of the start for me. Going to high school in the US, my first year, I was in Arizona. I tried out for basketball just because I played basketball, but I really didn't know what that meant. I just know there's a basketball team. Let me just go try it. I tried out for the school team in Arizona. I didn't make it. And then the next year I moved to Colorado. I was staying with a host family, and the house we lived in, there was a court outside. And then I was just kind of shooting. And then I think one day a guy drove by the house, and he stopped by. He was like, "Oh, you play basketball? What school do you go to?" And I was like, "Oh, I told him I go to the school not far from here." And he's like, "Oh, I'm the coach there. You should try out for basketball." In my mind, I was just like, "Okay, sure, I'll just try it just for fun." So that was the first year I actually played in high school in the US. And then I played 2 years in that school. And then after I graduated, I played 1 year in prep school in California. Because actually after I graduated, I wanted to go to school. That was the main purpose, to go to college. But of course you have to pay for school if you don't have a scholarship. And my family wasn't really that well off. I personally didn't want them to have to pay for school too. I felt like I was good enough to get a scholarship in either soccer or maybe even basketball. So I got an opportunity to go to prep school because I played AAU my last year of high school. At this time, I wouldn't say I was very good yet. I was still kind of developing and just learning the game. And I think the funny thing looking back now is that I was so young. Like at this old time, I was 16, 17, 18, but I was very curious about the game. I was very willing to learn. I knew I didn't know much, so I knew the only way I could learn was to play more and just like observe my surroundings. And so that was how I slowly got better. And the biggest thing that I also needed was confidence too. Like I needed confidence in myself. I didn't understand that yet. Eventually, I went back to Cambodia, and then I found myself here in Taiwan. So I think it's a journey that's had different chapters, but it eventually led me here.
And from a basketball perspective, like what was the biggest difference for you, like versus Nigeria or versus living in Cambodia and coming to the US to play?
I would say the competitiveness. I mean, going from Cambodia, we kind of just really played for fun. Nobody was aspiring to play like in overseas or play in the NBA or anything like that. So we're just playing to better ourselves and just for fun, to make friends with people. And when I went to the US, I really started to realize how competitive the sport is and how people really take it seriously. It's not just for fun. Some people, maybe they might not even like the sport that much, but because they're good at it, they will continue to play. You know, so that was probably the biggest difference. And then obviously the physicality and the different sizes of people. And the US has everything in terms of basketball.
So you talked a little bit about how you played in high school and you went to prep school. What was your plan after prep school? Was it to, go to college in the US, or, what was your plan after that?
That's a good question. I feel like at that time, my plan was to hopefully get a scholarship, because in prep school, sometimes we have some tournaments where we play in front of coaches, stuff like that. So my plan was just hopefully to get seen by somebody and someone to take a chance on me, really. I did get a couple of offers to go to some Division 2, Division 3, NAIA schools. But the thing was that first, maybe it wasn't a full scholarship.
You would still have to pay.
And then the visa, like, it would have been something they would have to deal with too. So I remember, I think at that time I decided, okay, I had the offers, but I wanted to decide to go back home first, go back to Cambodia and see if I could find a way to get back to the US.
How did the opportunity to go to Taiwan come about?
After going back to Cambodia, after prep school, and at that time I was still trying to figure out, okay, if I'm going to go to the US, what am I going to do? How am I going to get there? But in the meantime, I was still practicing, still training. I had a job at that time. I was a teacher because my parents, they own a school, so I was kind of teaching. And then before classes, I would go to the gym in the morning or weight room, do some training, and then after I would go training again. At that time, I used to train with the Cambodian national team. They had like a grassroots team that the kids were about between 15 to 25 years old. So kind of they had practice every day. So I would go join them. And then I met a guy, his name was Matt Van Pelt. So he was like a agent / player. And then he was transitioning to being a coach. At that time, he was kind of coaching the Cambodian team like as a skills coach. He just asked me what was my plan and what's my story. And I just told him that, okay, like, I'm trying to go to school right now. That's my goal. And hopefully also be able to play basketball. So I was like, okay, cool. So I met him, and then he went back to the US. And I totally forgot about that interaction. But a few months later, I got a message from him and he was like, "Oh, there's opportunities to go to school in Taiwan. Looking for players out there. You could go there and play and go to school also.
Yeah.
And you could probably get a scholarship too." At that time, I was thinking Taiwan is kind of, it's close to Cambodia. It's not that far from Cambodia, but after being in the US, I feel like coming to Taiwan would be like a step backwards,
Yeah.
That's how I felt at that time. So first instance, I wasn't really like interested in that idea.
Yeah.
But over time, I started to think about it. I started to have a feeling about it, and I wanted to find out more. So he gave me the contact of the school and the people in Taiwan, and I think I sent them some of my film and clips and whatever, and they really liked me and they wanted me to come. So that's how it pretty much started, and I found my way to Taiwan. Yeah.
Could you explain like how, as a foreign student, like how that works and going to Taiwan? Like, how did that work when you arrived to Taiwan?
Are you asking like what are the expectations or
like what are like the rules for like a foreign student? Like, how do they just find foreign students?
So like at that time, I remember there was no limitations on foreign students. Like the school could have as many as they wanted. You could have 5. It's just about you have to pay for their scholarship and for them to be able to come here.
Yeah.
So the better the school, the more they could afford. Let's say maybe better foreigners.
Yeah.
But better foreigners or even more of them. So at that time, my school I was the first one they had, and then my school was also Division 2, and also my school was a very small school, so they also don't have a lot of high talent local recruits like Taiwanese high school players. So it was very hard for them to compete. So I think that's what kind of contributed to them deciding to try and find a foreign student.
Yeah.
So I feel like at that time, I really didn't know about all the other schools. I didn't know about the NCCUs or the UCHs or the FJE. All those schools, I didn't really know a lot about those. I only knew the school that was inviting me to come. So, but I feel like I always joke, like I feel like if I knew about other schools, I might have not gone to my school because my school is very small. I would say education-wise, they're not the highest, but I always like feel very proud that I was able to go there because they really took care of me, and because it was very rare for them. Like for a school, maybe for other schools, they've had foreign students come over before, and maybe they have more than one. So it's nothing rare. It's nothing new for them. But for my school, I was like the first ever foreign student they had play on the team. And I remember my first practice, I got picked up at the airport by the coaches and went to the school, and I went to their first practice, and everyone was just like, wow. A lot of them, they've never met a foreigner before. Like they've seen from afar.
Yeah, it's got to be such a culture shock for them.
Like seeing, for me too, but for them, Like I remember some of them wanted to touch my hair, like like, can we touch your hair? I'm like, sure. Right? And so like, and it was very interesting. Like they were all very interested in meeting me, and some of them couldn't even speak English, So most of them couldn't speak English. I remember I went to my dorm room and they kept coming in my room, check on me. I just wanted to see me. And for me, it was also a culture shock because this was the first place I ever been. I didn't really know anybody. I was meeting for the first time. So
how did you feel leaving for Taiwan for the first time? Because like for me, it was like, man, like you said, like I knew nothing about Taiwan.
You'd never been here at that point.
Yeah, I'd never been to Taiwan. I always thought like I was Chinese. I always thought I was Chinese until like.
So you didn't even know like. You didn't know you were this Chinese. You were
I didn't know I was Taiwanese. Because I didn't know the difference at that point. But like when I left and got on the plane, it felt like I was getting on a roller coaster. I couldn't I was like putting down the strap and I couldn't get off. Like I was going up the escalator, I couldn't turn around. I look behind and I see my family like waving goodbye. I'm like,
oh no, what am I doing?
I'm like, I'm really doing this. But like, how'd you feel like leaving?
I mean, I felt more like that when I went to the States.
Yeah?
Yeah, I felt more like that when I went to the States. When I came to Taiwan, I felt more at peace. I knew what it's like to be on my own. I felt very independent. I was just more nervous about how I would take advantage of the opportunity. I was more worried about like, okay, can I even be a good player at this school that I'm going to? Will I be able to cope? Will I be able to make something out of myself? That was more what I was worried about, So I think those kind of feelings and those thoughts will really like make you better, over time, Yeah. So I think we both made a very like big leap of faith, and I think it's gonna pay off like as even after we play basketball.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think doing something like this like builds a kind of independence, and you already had that experience like moving to the U.S. and you got to build that independence. But for me, like, I had never left the U.S. like by myself before. Like the furthest I'd gone is when I went to college in Oregon, and I was by myself. Like it was tough being away.
Oh,
from
your school
family.
was in Oregon?
Yeah, my college was in Oregon, so I was away from family and that, but you know, I was still like in the U.S., so it wasn't that much of a difference. But coming to Taiwan, it was like I don't speak Taiwanese, and it's funny because like whenever me and Gabby go out somewhere to eat, or, you know, like we went to this one massage place, and Gabby walks in, and then I walk in behind him, and the guy working there is all looking at me, and he's talking to me in Mandarin, and I got no idea what he's saying. And then,
I start answering,
and then Gabby starts answering in Mandarin, and then he's like looking back and forth, and I'm like sorry, man.
Yeah, that's very funny. I'm sure for you it was probably even more scary because for me, I don't look like a local. I look like a foreigner, so people will already know.
They don't expect you to, you know.
They already know I can't speak Chinese. They already know I'm not from here. They already know I'm probably not even staying here long. But for you, they see you, they feel like you're from here, you're local. Like So
how many years in college? Just 3 years in college?
3 years.
So 3 years in college. You know, I'm sure you did well. And then was your plan after college in Taiwan? Was it to go back to the States, or was it? Do you think like, you know, I'm here, I might as well try playing professionally in Taiwan?
Coming to Taiwan, I didn't even know about the leagues here. I didn't know about anything, which is funny thinking about that now. But I didn't know about. My goal was just come here, go to school, like graduate, and then the next step will just show itself. I got here, they had the SBL, so that was the only league in Taiwan. And then after, I think my second year, the P League came about. And then I remember my coaches were like, "Oh, there's 2 leagues now in Taiwan. Like if you work hard and if you get better and are good enough, you can get a chance to play here, you know." So from that moment on, I always felt like, okay, like obviously as any basketball player that takes basketball seriously, our goal is to play in the NBA or to play professionally somewhere, you know. So for me, then I was like, okay, like wherever I end up, I know it's gonna start in Taiwan, because at that time I was like maybe 22, 23. Like a lot of players in the NBA are getting drafted at like 18, 19, 20. So I knew that I wasn't gonna be my story was not going to be like that. So I really felt like, okay, Taiwan was going to be my in, you know, for me to get into a professional team and be seen all over the world. So, and then the T League came about my third year in college.
Oh, the T1, T1 League,
which is now the TPBL. After the 3 years, I was already kind of like in the draft boards, like in Taiwan. I remember one time I saw like the top 5 prospects or whatever it is, or 5 key men, and I was one of them. So I always felt very proud about that, and I knew that I had a shot to get drafted somewhere.
Was there a specific team that you wanted to go? Did you want to go to the Plus League, or were you fine being in the SBL? Or
like as a fan of the game, I watched every team, and my favorite teams back then, funny to say now, were the Braves, Fubon Braves, and then the Kings. I really like the Kings. I really like both of those teams. For me, I wanted to go where someone wanted me to be there. So I just wanted to go somewhere that they had a plan for me and they wanted me to be there. So so it didn't matter if it was SPL, if it was P League. That was
so you could have been, there's different drafts obviously for each different league. So there's a draft for the SBL, draft for the T1, draft for the P League. How does that work for your status? Like after you graduated, like could you have been drafted by both leagues?
Yeah. So pretty much you enter your name into the draft, so they know you're in there. So and then there's a combine too. There's a combine, and I did both those combines, and then a couple of teams I worked out for the Taiwan SPL Taiwan Bear team, and then the P League Steelers team. Those were the 2 teams I got to practice with, and they saw me and stuff like that. So I remember the Taiwan Bear team told me that okay, like if I'm available, they were definitely gonna pick me. So so going in, I already knew there were some good options for me to get picked, but I just didn't know where. And for me, when they told me that, I was like happy to hear that, but I wasn't gonna be sure until it actually happened. You know?
Like, were you satisfied being drafted into the SBL? Because you know, for context, there's the P League, the T1, and the SBL, and you can explain like what the SBL was or is.
At that time, there was P League, T1 League, SBL. The SBL is like the oldest league in Taiwan. It's been around for maybe 25 years, 20 plus years. At this time, it was kind of the less advertised league. The P League and T1 were kind of had more media. They were known as the professional leagues. But the SBL is kind of known as a maybe semi-pro league. For me, going into the draft, I knew that okay, like it was more known that, okay, if you go to the P League, it will be a little bit tougher as a foreign student.
Yeah.
Because there will be other foreigners there too. And they will be bringing players, imports from other countries. I've played in Europe. Some have played in the NBA before.
Yeah.
So the challenges will be a lot tougher, and you will have to like either wait your turn, or if you get to play, you have to perform immediately. So there's more pressure there a little bit. The SPL is different because you can only really have 1 or 2 imports on the team, plus the foreign student. And so that would mean that you would really have to play more for the team, you know. And for me, at that time, I think experience was more important for me than anything, you know. But unfortunately, I didn't get picked in the P League draft. So for me, it was an easy decision that I was going to go to Taiwan Bear, the SPL.
So would you say like your time in the SBL that kind of helped you develop into the player that you are today?
Yeah, for sure. I would say so, because I got to learn a lot. I got to like make a lot of mistakes and learn from them. And I think my first year, I didn't play as well as I wanted to. I ended up getting the Rookie of the Year and led the league in steals, but I still felt like there was more I could have done. I really wasn't as confident as I wanted to be. So my second year, I knew what to expect. And so that kind of made it a little bit better for me. And then and not getting picked in the P League draft, I mean, for me, it motivated me a lot too, because obviously as a basketball player, you feel like, okay, your work is going to pay off. And when I didn't get picked, I was like, okay, like this will make me work harder and show people that they
added a little fuel to the fire.
Yeah, for sure.
So now you're with the Tainan GhostHawks. You know, you're in the P League now. When you first came here, did it kind of feel like a full circle moment, or?
A little bit. I would say, like in the beginning, I wanted to play in this league, and now that I'm here, so. But I think it's the right timing. I think everything is the right timing. And I'm happy that the GhostHawks wanted me to come here and play. So I just hope that I can leave a good mark here, you know, and also continue to improve myself.
Yeah. Were you nervous coming to the P League, or were you?
Oh no, not at all.
Yeah.
Because I used to watch, like I said, I'm a big fan of the game. I watch pretty much almost every P League team. I know a lot of the players, maybe not personally, but I've watched them play, and I felt like, oh, I could perform here too. I could help every team, any team in the league. And knowing that I was going to come to Tainan, I was very excited, because I'll get a chance to play along very great players, and players that I feel like will probably teach me a lot. And then also the coaches. I've always had local coaches, like Taiwanese coaches.
So this is your first time having
a foreign coach, and Coach Connor. So for me coming to the P League, I was excited to learn from a coach a coach in other countries and has seen a lot of things outside of Taiwan. So
I mean, I was excited to see you too. Like when I walked into practice and I saw you talking to Coach Corner, and I was like, what are you doing here? So for context, like the first time I met Gabby was my first 6 months that I lived in Taiwan in 2023, and
wow, that felt like
it feels so long ago.
Yeah, that was only.
Yeah, it's almost 2 years, but I mean, I practiced with the Taiwan Beer, and that was the last team that I'd practiced with in my 6 month span that I was here. And Gabby was one of the few people that I could talk to, because he was, you know, one of the only ones that could speak English. And I was with the Taiwan Beer for maybe like a week.
Less than a week.
And you know, during that time, like we talked a lot, and you know.
And then you just disappeared.
And then I just disappeared. I just went home.
I think I remember, like, I think I've told you this before, but I remember the first time I heard from you again after that I heard about you was like when you had like 11 threes in a game in the TAT.
The TAT,
and then one of our trainers like texted the group chat, was like, "Isn't this the guy that like was practicing with us like a few months ago? Like he just had 11 threes in the game. Why didn't we sign him?" You know? And then that was the first. And then the second time was when I saw your YouTube channel. So. And then I found out you were coming to Tainan too. But the time I found out I was coming to Tainan, I completely forgot that you were here, actually.
Thank you.
Because I was just thinking about, who's in Tainan? I remember Gumao. I remember Gumao. I know Jerry was here, but I completely forgot that you were here. And then when I walked in the gym, I saw you. I was like, hey! So that was pretty funny.
How do you think you've made your mark on the GhostHawks so far? Like, what do you want to see happen this rest of the season, and how do you think your season's been going?
So I would say, first of all, like, so you asked coming to the P League if I was nervous. I was more nervous to come to the GhostHawks in general, because first of all, I've been living in Taipei, or the north of Taiwan, for the last 5 years. So coming to a new place where it's not where I've been living, I was very curious about that. And also coming in the middle of the season too. At that time, you guys already played, I think, 3 or 4 games. I was like, okay, I want to be able to show that I belong here too, you know. So in the beginning, I was just trying to fit in and trying to learn how the team played. And it took me a while, honestly. And even still to this day, I'm still trying to learn more and more. But so far, it's been a great experience. I think I've had some great moments with the team. And right now, we're in the playoffs. So, I mean, going to go in the playoffs in a couple of weeks. So I'm excited for what's to come. I think Tainan has always been an underdog, even in previous years in the other leagues.
That's what I've always noticed. Like when I was going to come to Taiwan, I was like looking at all the different teams, and the GhostHawks was one of those ones that like no one really paid attention to.
Yes.
You know, just because I feel like in Tainan, everyone wants to focus on teams in Taipei or Kaohsiung, you know, the big cities, and Tainan kind of gets overlooked.
So I always root for the underdog. I like being an underdog. And I found out Tainan is pretty quiet and low key, and I feel like that's what my style too. So I feel like this team really fits me, and I fit the team very well. So I'm excited for what we can do in the playoffs.
So I want to get into more like personal questions, like more about you as a person. So I know you're religious and you believe in God. So like, what does having a life that revolves around faith? How do you how do you incorporate that into basketball in your life in general?
I mean, that's a good question. For me, it's kind of like an extra boost for myself, because I feel like faith is always something. I think believing in something bigger than yourself is always going to be something that makes you like look at yourself and be like, okay, like whatever happens in my life, like there's a plan that's bigger than me, you know. The challenges we face as basketball players or as athletes and in our life and off the court, on the court, like I think having faith is something that can help us kind of put everything into perspective, you know. And what do you think? Like for you, you grew up in a religious family too. So.
Yeah. I think, in the past 2 years, I think my faith has definitely grown more so than like when I was in college or in high school, because like I didn't really go through that many challenges in high school or college, not really like big life challenges. But I think in the past 2 years, I was faced with a lot of uncertainty and, not knowing where I was going to go. And, my dad and I, we talk about, or my parents, they always talk to me how God will always open and he will always close doors. And, my first 6 months I was in Taiwan, like I got rejected from every single team that I tried out with. So during that time, it was a super hard time for me. Like, after that, I was like, what, I'm done with basketball. And my dad, we had a long conversation. He was like, if you really want to pursue this, like, don't let a few closed doors, like, stop you from pursuing this. So, I was like, all right, I'll keep praying about it. And, an opportunity to play in the TAT came up, and, that was an open door from God. So, I walked through and, ended up playing really well. And, the GhostHawks opportunity happened, another open door. So God is always providing, and he's giving you so many opportunities to trust in him. And the more I fail and the more I see, obstacles in the way, like I see them as, God is testing my faith.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That just shows how important your parents have been a great support system for you too.
Yeah, for sure.
At that time, your dad could have just agreed with you and said, okay, if you want to stop, then you can stop. I mean, he could have done that too, but I think deep down he knew that this is something you really wanted. So he didn't want to let you give up on it,
And it seems like every decision that has been made has been a faith-based decision.
Yeah. I think that's the best thing. Yeah. That's the best thing, because in that way, think about it. If it goes right, you feel like God led me this right way. If it goes wrong, you know that, okay,
that's not the plan.
That's not the plan. And then you know that, okay. Yeah. But when you do something that feels like God wanted you to do this and it doesn't go well, at the end it still works out. You don't feel as bad about it.
Yeah. But that's such a hard concept to understand. Like especially like while you're going through it. It's like when doors are closing and closing, it seems like nothing's going right. Yeah. It's so hard to kind of lean on your faith in that time, but when you do, it kind of builds your confidence. And
it's amazing because we're talking about a sport like basketball and how it's crazy how it influences our life so much.
My parents, like before games or something like that, they'll like, my mom will text me and she'll be like give it up to God or like play for God. And that's always been a concept that like I've always struggled with. Like what does it mean to like play for God? Like what do you think that phrase means?
I think it goes back to like being a part of something bigger than yourself. Yeah. So I think what she means by that is to play for God. Like no matter if you make a shot or if you have a bad game or a good game, God is still going to be there for you. And also, like, I think as basketball players, we can influence a lot of people. Like,
I think part of it is like as professional athletes, I know it's like on a much smaller scale than like NBA, but like we still have, like you said, like we still have some sort of influence that we have, and
sure.
you know, and I think it's about being good stewards of Christ, and you know, people that watch us, like the fans or people on social media, they watch us, and people are always observing, and you know, I think that phrase like playing for God kind of means like being a good disciple while you're playing. So, you know, and I struggle with that, you know, like with language on the court or whatnot, like when I'm not playing well, and those are things that I need to be mindful of. And
like, I remember when I was in prep school, and there were times where I felt like I needed to be more like mean, or I needed to be more of someone who I'm not to play better, or to make people think that, okay, I'm not soft on the court or whatever.
Yeah.
But then I realized that at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter. You know, that's not what the game is about. You can still be competitive. You can still want to win. You can still play aggressive. You can still play like as hard as you can, but and still be like a child of God, and still be a good person, or a good. Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings too, you know.
So we always talk about when we're shooting after practice, you know, shooting before practice, like, you know, like I'll shoot a shot, I'll make it, I'll be like, you know, someday it's gonna pay off. You know,
it's gonna pay off.
It's gonna pay off. Like, you know, maybe not today, you know, maybe not today, not tomorrow, maybe not this season, but you know, like someday it's gonna pay off. But like, when do you think that turning point was for you, when you finally saw like your work was starting to pay off?
I'll give you two different answers. The easiest answer I can say is every day. I'm seeing it every day. Like, I will have a bad moment in this practice that we're having now, and then I'll be down on myself, but then maybe like 2 minutes later, I will do something better and good. I'm okay. Like, the moment is paying off right now. I remember, like, basketball is such a weird sport. Like, I remember one game I played, I think it was last season. It was a close game. I missed 2 free throws to like tie the game, or like get the lead. Okay. I was just like, I might have just lost the game for us. Like, this is not good. Like, I was so down on myself, but the Spirit told me, like, or something in my mind was just like, keep playing, just keep playing, just keep playing. Okay. So I tried to let that moment go. And then it was like a fast break. I think we were down by 1. I shoot the ball, I missed it. Okay. And then my teammate like tipped it, and I got it, and it came back to me again, and we got an N1. And then we got the lead, and I made the free throw. I was just thinking in my mind, like, oh, just a minute ago, I was like, lost the game for us.
Yeah.
But now I pretty much just won the game for us again.
Yeah.
Like, so it's that
so
was just
crazy.
That was just a small story to just show like how, I'm sure you've had many moments like that.
Yeah.
Where you missed the shot, you're like, dang, then you made the next 3, or maybe, you know? So that's why I say every day it's paying off. But then you asked me what moment did I feel like it clicked. I would say last year, because like I said, like my first year I feel like I could have done a lot better. My second year, I started to play a lot better, which was last year. And then I think during the season, I hurt my shoulder. I got hurt. I think I was out for a month. Yeah, because we play 3 games every weekend in the SPL. So I was out for a month. I missed like 15 games. But then while I was out, I was just thinking, how can I like be better? How can I still kind of improve myself to when I get back, I can still be good and effective and help my team. And I was just watching more details of the game and seeing. The game was just slowing down for me. I was saying, okay, when someone makes a mistake, or what would I have done in this instance? What could they have done here? Someone makes a good shot. Oh, okay, I can take that to it and add that into my game, or try to just learn from it. Yeah. So and then when I got back, and then started playing again right before the playoffs, and I started playing well. I started scoring a lot more than I did during the regular season. Yeah. And then the finals, I played so well, probably the best I've played, in my whole life actually. Yeah. And I would say that was the moment. That was one of the moments it clicked for me, because I think as a player that plays like myself, which is kind of like a fast, athletic, jumps, like just plays with a lot of energy. Sometimes slowing down and focusing more on details can help me a lot. Yeah. So right now, like, I still have like moments where I'm like, I suck. you know? Yeah. Like, what am I doing? Like, that is such a horrible mistake to make, or why am I not focused right now? Or why am I not playing how I want to play? I feel like that probably still happens to LeBron James. Yeah. Like, you know, like how do you manage like those moments where there's a span where like you're just playing so bad, and you think about like all the reps you've put in, that the thousands of shots you put in, the hours of work you put in the weight room and stuff like that, and it's just not showing up. Yeah, like for me, I feel like those are the moments for me where faith needs work. Like some people, maybe they don't have the fit part, but they work and they're still good enough. Gets it done. And then some people believe and they pray, like, oh, I hope I can play better. I hope but then maybe they don't put the work in to get better, and it doesn't work, you know. So I feel like in those moments, I remember, I think it was this week. I remember I was like, I feel like I was not playing well, and then I was just thinking like, why am I making these kind of mistakes? And I prayed about it, and then, it occurred to me that I was like, maybe I'm thinking too much, or maybe like I'm not accepting the role that I'm supposed to play. Like I remember when I first joined the team, I remember the first 4 or 5 games, I didn't even score a point, you know?
Yeah.
And
I remember that.
And then I was like, wow, how have I not scored a point? Like not even a free throw or nothing. Like, and then I was like, okay, I shouldn't focus on that. What can I control? I can't really control the ball, me scoring or stuff like that. But I can control maybe how much I rebound, how fast I sprint, stuff like that. And then I started playing better, you know, and I scored. I remember my first point was like a tip in, you know?
Yeah.
And then I scored 2 points and a 7 and then 9, you know? So kind of slowing the game down and thinking about what can I actually control.
Yeah.
That has really helped me a lot in so many different parts of the game, you know? Sometimes we got to give ourselves a lot more credit. Like, can't be so down on ourselves because we're human beings too. We make mistakes. That's something that experience brings, you know? They have experience, so they can.
Of course,
They know they've made all the mistakes, and they know they will make more mistakes. So it doesn't even matter, you know?
All right, so we've talked a lot about, you know, your journey and your experiences, but, you know, looking back at your journey, like, what do you think you are most proud of yourself for since getting to this point?
Let's think about that. I want to ask you that too. So start thinking about what you would say too. Okay. One, I would say being able to leave home at such a young age and not like fall into like just bad decisions and I feel like I was very lucky, like to be surrounded by so many great people that helped me out a lot. Like, so many great people that helped me out a lot, you know, and were positive influences in my life. Another thing would be probably my work ethic on the court, because I feel like I've come a long way. Like recently I've watched a lot of videos of myself playing like when I was young and and I was just like, back then I thought I was actually good, but
it's cooked. Yeah, same. Like my uncle just sent me this video of when he brought him and my brother to work out with his son, which is, you know, one of my best friends from back home. But it was, gosh, I must have been like an eighth grade or something. Man, I thought I was so cool. Like, you know, like doing that basketball jog, like through workouts and like lazy finishes. I thought I was so good. And looking back at that video, I was like, what are you doing? You know, it's
like if my past self saw like myself playing out, I would be like, dang, like that's so different.
Yeah.
But I would say my work ethic, I know I still have some ways to go. Like I listen to a lot of Kobe videos and Michael Jordan, and all the greats. Like it's like they're one of a kind. Their mindset is one of a kind, you know. So that's something I'm trying to learn too. I'm proud of helping my team, my college team, make it to Division I and making it to the Final Four. Proud that I was able to. There was a time like for me to say I'm a professional basketball player now. That's like for me. Like sometimes I realize I'm like,
no, it's crazy.
Like how?
It's crazy.
Like in my high school team, I was not even like looking back now. I think I'm the only one who plays professionally right now. I was not nowhere close to like the top 10 on my team. You know, thinking about that it's crazy to think about because I didn't really like envision. It was just year by year. I didn't envision any of this. So I mean, I'm a husband now. I'm pretty proud of that. You know. I wouldn't say I never imagined I'd be married, but I wouldn't say that, but I think that's also a challenge in its own, and I'm learning it every day, you know, how to be a good partner and how to be a good brother and how to be a good son. So I think I'm proud of those things. I think I can be better, but the fact that I still have these people in my life that really care about me and they show a lot of support in my life means I'm doing something right, you know? So what about you? What would you say you are most proud of, like, so far in young life of Ethan Chum?
Yeah, I mean, 23 years of age.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What the heck? Dude, I was 23, like, just like last year.
I mean, you're 27.
I'm 27, but it really felt like last year, like, he's going to go like that.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I think, like, when I was little, like, I would always be so quick to, like, quit things when they weren't going my way. Like playing horse with my older brother, playing horse with my dad. Like if I was down HORS, like I was like, I'm done. I start throwing a fit. Like I'm done. As I've gotten older, like to just
not quit at horse. We played horse recently, and he actually beat me. So, and he was down a few times. So he's learned from that. He doesn't quit at horse anymore.
I have, yeah. But like as I've gotten older, like I think I've just come with the mentality, just don't quit.
Yeah.
You know, because my senior year of high school, so end of my junior year, I was the first person going into my senior year committed to a school.
Really?
Yeah, I was the only player committed to school for basketball.
Really? That must have been
yeah. Feeling. So I mean, it was a great feeling, like knowing that, like, oh, like Ethan's committed. You know, I don't know how other people felt about it, but for me, I was like, oh, like I put these expectations that like people expected me to play really well just because I was committed, and my senior year, I was benched for like half the season.
Really?
Yeah. And that was a super tough time for me. Like I really thought of quitting basketball then.
Even if you were committed already to
yeah, I really thought of quitting my senior season. I was just like, I was so down on myself, but I decided not to quit. But like the last 3 quarters of the season, like I ended up playing really well and finishing. And so I got to college and freshman year, like I came in with these super high expectations of myself, and I didn't meet any of those expectations. And I called my parents. I remember this talk so vividly. I was sitting in my dorm, and I called my mom. I was like, dude, I'm coming home at the end of the semester. Like mid year, I told my mom, I was like, I'm coming home. And then my dad, again, I talked to my dad, a long conversation. He was like, dude, just stick it out for the year, and see where it takes you. So, I stuck it out the next 3 years of college. And then, came to Taiwan, 6 months in Taiwan. I was like, dude, all these rejections. I was like, dude, I'm going to quit. and then I was like, you know what? I was like, let me just stick it out, just see what happens.
Yep.
And then, now I'm here.
Yeah, you're here. So imagine if you quit any of those times.
Exactly. Yeah. Like if I quit my freshman year of college, like who knows where I'd be,
Yeah.
But I think, that's what I'm most proud of. I just didn't quit. You said, it's crazy that we're playing professional basketball. I never thought it was even a possibility.
Yeah,
so.
For sure. Like I don't have as many quitting stories, but there was one time.
Well, maybe that's a good thing.
I probably do actually, but the one time I can remember was when I was my first year playing in AAU in high school, and then back then I used to not play that much, and when I would play, I wouldn't play well. And I remember it was one game I played. I got in for a little bit. I got injured, and I was like, "What kind of day was this?" Like, didn't play much, didn't play well, and
you're hurt.
Leaving this court unhealthy. like what is this? And I really wanted to quit too. And I was just, and this is where like the fate came in too, because I was like, I prayed to God. I was like, just if you want me to play this, keep playing this, because that time, like I said, I played soccer too.
Yeah.
So and I felt like I was better at soccer, and I had a better chance there. So I was like, I could be playing soccer right now and getting all the minutes or playing as long as I want. Why am I playing this sport that I'm not even good at? Yeah. I love it, but I'm not good at it. And it sucks. I was just praying that, oh God, please just give me a sign. I should keep playing it. Just give me one sign. So one layup, whatever it is, like let me get fouled and make 2 free throws. Something.
Yeah.
And I remember the next game I played really. I wouldn't say really well. I did score 40.
For your standards.
Maybe we go back to that video. Maybe we watch that video, and I just made 1 layup, and I'm like, yes.
Well, I mean, that was the sign that you prayed for.
But no, I played well enough to give me some hope to keep playing. So thank God for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, not quitting is a big one.
Yeah.
It's a big one, because recently I've been learning more about like being a business owner or entrepreneurship or whatever it is, and they always say like a lot of times people that are successful is because they don't quit too. Like 5 people doing the same thing at one time, like they don't really have much success, but the one who keeps going the longest will be the most successful. And I feel like that's true. Like
because it's so easy to quit. It's so easy to just say like I'm done.
Yeah.
And I had to fight those thoughts so many times, and those are some of the hardest mental battles to go through.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you have more.
Yeah.
You have more. Like we'll have more. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
But
my last question is, if a young hooper, a young athlete is watching this video, what's one takeaway you'd want them to have?
A couple of things. One would be
every time I ask you, Every time I ask you to say one thing, you're all like, a couple things.
Yeah, because there's a lot of knowledge in this head. Okay, one thing.
No, you can give like 2 or 3.
But no, like, to sum it up, okay, I'm going to say a couple of things, right? Okay, 3 things.
All right, there you go.
I feel like one thing is attitude. You have to have a good attitude.
Yeah.
I think people can sense that when you have a good attitude, people are willing to help you. If you don't have a good attitude, let's say I tell you, oh, you're not supposed to do like this, do like that. You're like, yeah. I tell you that 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, you're still having a bad attitude. I'm not going to tell you a 5th time.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be like, oh, this person doesn't want to learn. Let them figure it out themselves. And you might be very good. You might be Steph Curry, but without the help of others, like, you will not be more than that. You know?
Yeah.
So I think attitude is a very important thing. Also, like, working hard is important. Like getting as much reps as possible, getting as much chances and experience as possible. That will, like, experience is the best teacher in life. So I think keep learning and growing, and then be grateful to other people. Like, I think give people their credit, you know, so people will give you yours too. So if somebody helps you out or somebody gives you a compliment or anything, just acknowledge them too. You know, I think that's something that's kind of underrated.
That's a good one.
And then when you're somebody that gives people their flowers, I think they will recognize you too. You know, so I think
it's always reciprocated. Yeah.
So I think those are 3 foundations. Like, there's definitely more. Like, if you ask somebody that's very successful in what they do, there's probably more in that formula. But I think those 3 things will be a good way to start. You know.
And something I want to do for this series is I want to have the previous guest, so Gabby, I want to have him ask a question for my next guest on the next episode. So,
for real?
Yeah. So what would be a question that you would want to ask our next guest?
Okay. So since this is a far from home series, right? So what's your favorite food in Taiwan, and what's your least favorite food in Taiwan? That's the question I want to ask.
That's a good one. Well, I mean, you can answer that question right now.
Okay, so
we can both answer that question. Okay. What's your? We'll start with favorite food.
My favorite food. I really like breakfast foods. Like, in the States or in other countries, hamburgers are like known as like hamburgers in other countries are like different than here. But breakfast foods like hamburgers are really good here. And then the
I've never had a hamburger.
Really?
Ever. Except McDonald's.
You should try the breakfast hamburgers. They're good. Yeah, they taste kind of healthy too. But the hamburgers, the dumpings. You can post a picture of dumpings. I would say those are like my favorite breakfast foods. And then Lu fan, it's like a braised pork rice.
That is up there.
And then
sure.
Kong Ro fan, it's like a braised, like a pork. There'll be pictures up here for whoever. And then what I don't like, Taiwanese food. I mean, I pretty much like everything. I don't like.
It's got to be tofu. It's got to be tofu.
Tofu, sticky tofu. I mean, it just smells bad. I tasted it before. It doesn't taste.
Dude, it's so bad.
It just tastes like tofu. It doesn't.
That's my answer for least favorite. It's called stinky tofu. If you don't know what it is, it's called stinky tofu. My dad loves this, and I tried it for the first time, and he says it's so good. So I was like, all right, I'll just get past the smell. It tastes exactly how it smells. It tastes exactly how it smells. It's terrible. It's terrible. But anyways, my favorite food is Naromian beef noodle soup.
Oh yeah,
that is. I might offend a lot of people from Taiwan, but I'm just not a big fan of Taiwanese desserts.
Like what? Like the
red bean moat. Like, I'm just not a big fan.
Red bean is like a dessert thing here. Like, it's ice popsicles.
Yeah.
Like soups. Like, red bean is fine. Okay. First time I ever heard of red bean like soup or red bean anything, I was like, back in Nigeria, like, beans is like a food. Like, it's not like a dessert.
Yeah.
So
like, I've never been a bean guy, except like Chipotle. I'll order like some pinto beans.
Oh, Chipotle.
Yeah, I miss Chipotle. Anyways,
only bean I like is Kobe bean Bryant.
Okay. Anyways, I appreciate you guys for watching. Tune in for the next episode. Thanks, Gabby, for being my first guest.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
First guest.
Yeah. All right. Tune into the next episode.